in here we've got a brand who definitely piqued my curiosity. Partly for the right reasons, partly for the wrong reasons. So this is supposed to be a watch from Excelsior Park, and the watch in the images, it looks great. This is a watch brand that was available, you know, like 100 years ago, but then who went out of business. And then they've been revived a couple of times since, including this most recent attempt. Now, some of the vintage watches for this brand sell for thousands that I've seen online, so they definitely have somewhat of a cult classic status. But I've since noticed a couple of things. So the lady who reached out to me via email introduced herself as but her actual footer says. To me, it seems very unusual to spell your own name wrong, which strikes me as very odd. Is this actually her name? Like, I can't recall ever misspelling my own name, especially not to that degree. And also, I questioned them about the brand itself because I wasn't super aware of them. And they provided me with this big 11-page document about the brand, but they don't really end up saying much, just alluding to the previous history of the brand. They don't actually say much about these watches now, what the company is actually about, who's behind them, which I found a little unusual. On the website, again, I couldn't find much about it, but more crucially, on the sticker for delivery here, this parcel came from our private mailbox, which is why there's a sticker over the top, but underneath, I can see Hong Kong. Now, this watch is supposed to be Swiss made, or at least it says Swiss made on the dial, and they're charging a pretty penny for this, almost £900, and it says Hong Kong with an address there, and it does say Excelsior Park on it. So I'm unsure if that's like a middleman distributor warehouse or something, or whether actually, even if the watches are Swiss made, the company behind them is actually from Hong Kong potentially. So yeah, bit of mystery surrounding this one, and I thought I'd better take a look to see if it's actually legit, or the product is legit at least. Now please don't take too much of my word for it. This is just a first impressions, not a review. But yeah, they did send me this watch. So yeah, that's why there's the paid promotion tab, but they haven't actually paid me any money, as you can probably tell. Okay, I can't show you all of this because it's got my address on, but in the packing slip it says return to Asia Fulfillment Center. And again, I think this is a slightly different address in Hong Kong, which I find quite unusual. But hey, let's see what we've got. So, comes in a cardboard sleeve. And the watch itself definitely looked good online. Oh, it's like a chest-like box. Wood effect. This feels really nice, actually. Oh, I've opened it upside down. Okay, there we go. Excelsior Park since 1866, so supposedly a very prestigious brand this, or at least one with a long history. But yeah, as you can see here, it's got a warranty card. And this one doesn't have a number because it's a press sample, but you'll see here, look, Excelsior Park, Switzerland. And again, on the rear. It just seems unusual to me that they wouldn't have some of these in Switzerland and just ship them straight to the UK. You know, I live in the UK. It's got to be cheaper than going all the way to Asia first. And even the silica packet that comes inside this box has Chinese writing all over it. Let's have a closer look. Oh, there's another one. There you go. Now, it's definitely a very good looking watch. There's no doubt about that. It's like a really classic dress watch. I think it's 38mm this, so a little bit on the large side considering the styling. It has a lovely, like, really glossy dial. And unusually, the indices really remind me of the Seagull 1963 actually, which is a Chinese watch, ironically. But they definitely suit this design better, no question about that. Love the sleek dial on that. I can see through the back here the movement, and this is a movement I haven't tried before, and it's an unusual one. Let me see what the name of it was again. So this is a Swiss Landeron L21 apparently. Gonna be completely honest with you, I'd never heard of that before in my life. Apparently it's very similar to an ETA type of movement and another hand wound movement too. Wow. Not sure if you can hear that. But it really makes a very distinctive clockwork-like noise, more than perhaps any other hand wound watch I've ever owned actually. There, Swiss made at the bottom of the dial. Second hand looks fairly smooth with that movement. Don't know much about this whatsoever. What I do know is, because it's hand wound partially, it is very thin. The movement itself looks very nice at least. And on the back here, yeah, Swiss made. 10 ATM water resistance sapphire crystal. I think it's a snapback case, even though it's got that raised section. Now I've had a good look at this up close. I can't see any gap for a prizing tool, so perhaps it is just a kind of big screw back, which is quite rare for a watch like this. Ah, the strap, let's have a feel of this. Strap feels quite good actually. It's funny, I'm not sure it looks the best. It's in keeping with the style, no doubt. It doesn't look like it's going to be high quality, but it feels fairly decent actually, as you would expect, given it's, you know, 800 quid or something they're asking for these. It'll be linked in the video description, by the way, if you do want to check it out. I'd probably recommend just taking a look at some other reviews of this watch when available, given the stuff I found at the start. Just a couple of inconsistencies that's just a little unusual. Finishing, do like the high polished chamfers. Domed crystal, that's got to be sapphire surely. Let's give it a check. So here's the Wise AD8, which should give us a good positive reading because that is sapphire. And let's have a look at the Excelsior Park. Yes, so it is sapphire, and it's sapphire that really looks like acrylic. They definitely picked a good piece here. It retains the retro vibes. I like how the hands are exceptionally thin. So yeah, whatever the backstory of this watch, they have certainly made a good looking watch. I think the brand name's quite unique too. You don't get watch companies really called stuff like this anymore. Very smooth, quite memorable. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments section below. Dead on 38 wide, lug to lug 46.2. Thickness with the crystal 9.6, and without it, it's somewhere in the region of about 8mm. So here's the EP884-S102 on my wrist. My wrist is 6¼ inches, and I'd say this is probably a fraction big for me actually. It wears a little bit larger than the measurements might suggest, or at least for the style of the watch. I think I'd require this style of watch to probably be 36mm for it to work with my tiny arm. So yeah, this is definitely best suited to medium or larger arms, I'd say. Yeah, certainly a very good looking return for this brand, no doubt. And there's a quick look at the strap. Another sign it's too big for my small arm is just the bagginess there, even on the final hole. And when you look at it up close, it really does look like a vintage watch, apart from the slightly more modern sizing. It's hard to get across the dial. It almost looks like one of those ivory Domino's pieces, that smooth cream. Now, as you can tell, doesn't look like there's any luminescence here, and also no super complex dial finishes like we saw with the likes of the Zelos recently. Just a much more clean and classic look with this one. If there's any updates on the branding front or anything to do with that shipping thing I spotted at the start, I'll put it in the comments below. Let me know what you guys think.